There is talk in Moscow about the resignation of Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov. He ignored a nuclear meeting with Putin, which sparked a wave of panic and rumors in the Russian capital. The situation became so intense that the Kremlin had to publicly comment on it, CNN reports. Thus, on October 7th, Dmitry Peskov, the press secretary of dictator Vladimir Putin, assured journalists that Lavrov, of course, continues to serve as foreign minister and called reports of his possible resignation false. There is not a single grain of truth in these reports. The initial cause of the rumors about Lavrov's resignation was a Financial Times publication stating that the stance of Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov during his brief meeting and last phone conversation with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was so uncompromising and unyielding that it surprised Washington and led to the cancellation of the summit between Trump and Putin. And the absence of the chief diplomat at the Security Council meeting, when Putin was discussing the prospect of resuming full-scale nuclear tests, only added fuel to the fire. The spokesperson for the Russian Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova, confirmed Lavrov's absence from the meeting with Putin, but assured that this happens, and also began to deny rumors about Lavrov's resignation. Well, you knew what to ask about, of course. That's a fantastic story. Yes. According to propaganda media, Lavrov was absent by prior agreement, but this very fact drew the attention of observers, since he became the only permanent member of the council to miss the meeting. Suspicions grew after it became known that Lavrov would not head the Russian delegation at the G20 summit in Johannesburg. Analysts immediately began talking about possible disagreements between Lavrov and the Kremlin, but official Moscow insists that everything is under control.
Where is Lavrov right now? He wasn't present at the important meeting where President Putin threatened possible nuclear tests. He's also not leading the Russian delegation at the G20 summit either.
Hey friends. Yeah, Lavrov has disappeared. No one can find him. Is he alive or dead? What's even going on there?
Looks like Lavrov is really in big trouble.
What kind of trouble? What, is it those mating games with the nasty little Putin again? A zoo, right?
If I had a horse, well, that would certainly be something interesting. If the horse, on the other hand, had me, I'd probably be dead, honestly.
No, they say it's actually much more serious this time. Sergey Viktorovich unfortunately got caught in the crossfire after the Trump-Putin meeting unexpectedly fell through.
They say it was Lavrov who was made the scapegoat for the failure of the Putin-Trump talks in Budapest. So where is he now? Any guesses?
Yeah, please write in the comments what you think happened to Lavrov where he is now.
Frankly, comments are unnecessary. It's just a disgrace for this country.
Actually, where Lavrov is and what's happening to him isn't that important because honestly no one feels sorry for him. No one feels sorry for Lavrov. But as for Lavrov possibly ruining the Trump-Putin meeting, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, he's the chief Russian diplomat who doesn't even know English. Well, it's a disgrace.
Kristen, I'm awfully sorry you're not listening. His ugly accent sounded so ridiculous that the NBC correspondent just stopped listening to him and interrupted. For a diplomat of that level, it's not just a mistake. It's a real laughingstock for the whole world.
Alright, forget about him. There's something more important here. What's actually going on in the Kremlin? What are these palace games? Well, that's a bit too respectful. Are those spiders in a jar really actually starting to eat each other now, huh?
Or else he might just stab someone.
Yeah, that's possible. Putin's on edge, right? Did you notice his eyes are darting around?
Wait, so Vladimir Vladimirovich is really scared?
Yeah, he's scared. I'd say he's downright trembling with fear.
It became known very recently, just a few minutes ago. Real panic began in the Kremlin.
Do you know why there is panic? Right now, in the fall of the year 2025, Putin is actually more afraid than ever before of a possible coup and its careful implementation. The geotag is unfinished. Listen.
A coup in the Kremlin is the biggest fear. Putin, writes the Telegraph. Putin fears losing control over the transfer of power? A scenario similar to the Wagner PMC mutiny in 2023 has become a long-term source of fear within the system.
Oh, inside the system things are actually really quite wild and unpredictable. Prigozhin, now buried with fiberglass, apparently scared Putin so much that now he's wary of all the generals.
According to sources close to him, Putin is not afraid of an external enemy, but of a coup from within. All of Moscow is buzzing. Rumors are circulating in the corridors of power that the president of Russia suspects his own generals and ministers of plotting a conspiracy. Well,
now it's clear, right, why Lavrov disappeared. As they say, the puzzle finally came together. Honestly, just look at this. Putin has gotten to the point where he's even afraid of someone like Lavrov. Tell me, isn't it satisfying to watch this unfold?
Sources say that Lavrov could have been arrested as early as October, but the bunker rat changed his mind at the last moment. Putin is afraid. He's not afraid of NATO, not of sanctions. He's afraid of a Bonaparte from his own army.
Well, there definitely aren't any Bonapartes in Russia at all. However, it's clear that Putin's paranoia is really truly getting noticeably worse by the day.
Putin's psychological state is cause for concern. He doesn't even trust his own security detail. He travels around the country in an armored train. He brings his own personal toilet with him and lives in fear of the SBU scooter. The question is no longer when the Kremlin will fall, but who will be the first to press the button.
Well, yes, it's long past time to press the button or pull the trigger. But here's another important and essential aspect I suggest we focus on.
Western analysts emphasize that the lack of a successor increases the risks. If the regime starts to collapse, it could trigger an acute political crisis.
Yes, and by the way, about the successor. Putin, he's a maniac. Obviously, he's got, bipolar disorder.
Don't blame the mirror if your face is crooked.
What remarkable self-criticism. On the one hand, he's afraid of a coup. On the other hand, he dreams of ruling attention until he's 97. That is for another 25 years.
Vladimir Putin intends to stay in power until 2050. It's impossible to groom a successor within the family. According to the Daily Star, the 73-year-old dictator allegedly wants to rule until he's 97 and then hand over power to his son Ivan, who is currently 10. By that time, he'll be 35, the minimum age to run for president.
Pretty neat little scheme, isn't it? 10-year-old Ivan Putin, who is a young boy, let me remind you, is, as a reminder, Putin's son with Alina Kabaeva. Right now, though, he's living under a cover surname. Well, makes sense, doesn't it?
That's Vladimir and Ivan. Putin and Kabaeva's two sons were given the surname Prikriti and are officially registered as Ivan and Vladimir Spiridonov. The surname Prikriti is apparently connected to the patronymic of their paternal grandfather, Vladimir Spiridonovich Putin.
And look how funny this turns out. Putin has already surpassed Kim Jong-il in terms of length of rule. Already surpassed Ceausescu and Pinochet. And now, Russians, pay attention, the third generation of Putins is beginning to torment your country. And you still endure it. Well, it's a paradox.
Your place is by the toilet.
Well, this is Putin's opinion about you. And I will tell you the facts. The third generation of Putins is in power. The dictator has already placed 24 of his relatives in government positions.
Those who strive to make a profit at any cost. They don't care about anything at all, as long as they can make money. Well,
exactly, and I'll continue. In recent years, several second cousins once removed of the Russian dictator Putin have received positions related to the state in various structures. These people belong to the most influential branch of Putin's family, the line of the dictator's paternal cousin, Yevgeny Putin. So basically, as you can see, Putin wants to live to be 97. How naive. And that's why he surrounds himself with his relatives. Well, now it's clear what he's doing over there in Beijing. While talking with Xi Jinping, he was pondering the idea of eternal life.
Putin and Xi Jinping discussed, attention, specifically, the topic of organ transplantation and living to 150 years old.
The government of the Russian Federation is looking for those responsible for the breakdown of negotiations between dictator Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump in Budapest. The Kremlin placed the blame for this on the Russian Foreign Ministry. After all, the memorandum with unrealistic and inflated demands, which sounded like an ultimatum, caused Trump's anger and the subsequent cancellation of the meeting. Lavrov was named the main culprit. It was he whom the Western press called the main factor in the cooling of relations with the United States. Several media outlets report that Lavrov came to the meeting with Secretary of State Marco Rubio unprepared, refused to engage in discussion, and took an overly hardline stance on Ukraine, trying to carry out the Kremlin's instructions to the letter. According to the Telegram channel Next, insiders say that Lavrov received a severe reprimand from Putin. The head of the Russian Foreign Ministry was almost accused of sabotage, since under no circumstances was he supposed to disrupt the summit. Amid the scandals, Kirill Dmitriev flew to the US in an attempt to ease the tension. Journalist Rostislav Morzagulov shared insider information from the Kremlin about Lavrov's fate. Putin is seriously considering the option of dismissing the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation as soon as the intensity of Russia's aggressive actions against Ukraine decreases.
When he is removed, Putin will start looking for someone to blame. This is typical behavior for him. So accordingly, Lavrov is the perfect scapegoat He has said a lot of nasty things. He has cursed at the Russian Federation's international partners.
On October 16th, US President Donald Trump announced that he intended to hold a meeting with Putin in Hungary. He did not announce the date of the summit, but he noted that before that, talks at the level of foreign ministers were planned. Already on October 22nd, Trump stated that he had cancelled the summit with Putin. On the same day, the US Treasury imposed sanctions against Russian oil companies Rosneft and Lukoil. Soon after, Trump stated that he would not meet with Putin or spend his time until there was an understanding regarding the conclusion of a peace agreement between Ukraine and the Russian Federation.